Here we go. So we'll start with you, Mr. Whalen, since you made your statement second. Please state your opinion on removing health insurance and pension benefits and reducing salary for the part-time job of Forest Preserve Commissioner.
You know, I think my opponent is the model for the answer to that question. You know, he signs an affidavit that says that he's, to qualify for his pension, that he's served 1,000 hours. If you divide that into the salary, that's $570 an hour that he bills taxpayers for his services. I'm an attorney, and I don't bill that kind of money. I believe that there is the necessity for reform with regard to the pensions, with regard to the salaries, and with regard to the benefits for the commissioners. Thank you.
Mr. Fermento?
As I indicated in my opening statement, I did not support the increased salaries for commissioners. I attempted to separate the questions so that I'd be able to vote separately on my particular salary. Unfortunately, it was a courtesy that was not extended to me. As far as the health benefits are concerned, we review those very carefully each year. And I think that the health benefits that we provide for our staff are very good. I also think that the pensions have also been reviewed carefully. My pension was established long before I got to the Forest Preserve, so if they elected to eliminate the pension, I would have no problem with that.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Fermento, we'll go back to you then to start with the next question. It's actually a couple questions together. How would you handle the district's nearly $500,000 annual public relations budget, specifically the $48,000 no-bid contract awarded to Reverse Spin for crisis public relations? And related to that is the Cook County Forest Preserve District has 1 public relations staff person and DuPage has 6. Is this necessary?
Well, from a staffing standpoint, our public affairs program has 6 people involved in it. They work very diligently on producing most of the information that is distributed in our conservationists as well as other activities. As it relates to the reverse spin issue, apparently most people are more distressed about the name than anything else. I look at them as a professional public relations media company. And since our executive director is going to be quitting that job, who's in charge of public relations, I thought it was worth our time to find someone to assist until we were able to find a replacement. During that period of time that he is gone, which will be in the early spring of this year, we will be able to use his salary to underwrite the cost of having a separate firm come in.
Mr. Whalen?
You know, I think the most recent insult to the taxpayers of this county occurred last week when Mr. Fermento approved a resolution that allowed Reverse Spin to do transparency, a 10-point transparency program and website development. They're a political strategy firm. They have no experience in those areas. And so in order to justify this contract, Mr. Fermento authorized them to work with their public relations staff in order to spin or do whatever they're doing with regard to transparency. It's been 24 years that Mr. Fermento's been on the board, and he's finally getting around to transparency. But are we going to get real transparency, or are we going to get spin?
Okay. Thank you. And we'll stay with you, Mr. Whalen, for question number 3. In light of recent events where 2 Forest Preserve employees were accused of misuse of public funds, do you think that the Forest Preserve Board of Commissioners should be held accountable for not having policies and procedures in place to protect taxpayers?
It's an issue of leadership. When you're serving on a board, you take the responsibility. You're the captain of the ship. So yes, a Forest Preserve Commissioner has to take responsibility for their employees. In this case, their IT department head and another employee, for a year, were diverting $12,000 a month to companies that benefited them. It took a year. Who was asleep at the wheel?
Mr. Fermento?
As I indicated before, I watch all the expenditures, and I'm very proud that I do. I will tell you that I questioned every time I saw the $12,000 item come up. And when I discovered that, I went in and I spoke to our financial people, and they demonstrated to me that they had a contract that indicated that this was a legitimate payment. When I looked into it further, I reported to the president that I believe there is something wrong at this particular point. Yes, it took us a while to discover it, but we were trying to be very careful. But when you are dealing with people's lives, you cannot make accusations that are not well-founded or have the evidence to support it. I think we took our time, we did the right job, and we got to the root of the problem.
Thank you. Mr. Fermento, we'll stay with you for the next question to begin. Do you support a requirement for the Forest Preserve to hold public hearings and comply with county and municipal zoning, and comply with municipal and county zoning ordinances before building on Forest Preserve lands?
That is our policy. We have done that in the past. We had public hearings on almost every issue. Whenever we had public hearings or we had individuals step forward and say they wanted more information, we did arrange for public hearings again. So I think we've attempted to comply with the law. The issue as far as being sure that everybody is informed is part of the reasons why we are developing a transparency program that will further enhance the opportunities for people to get direct information quickly.
Mr. Whalen? Would you like me to read it again, since I kind of stumbled over it? Do you support a requirement for the Forest Preserve to hold public hearings and comply with county and municipal zoning ordinances before building on Forest Preserve lands?
I support a move to get rid of the intergovernmental agreement that the Forest Preserve entered into with the county when the two boards separated, that allows them to be exempt from zoning laws here in the state of, in the county of DuPage. Anytime that there's a zoning change, the zoning rules, we experienced that with Navistar, where there are required hearings that you have to be conducted, that you have cross-examination, you have presentation of evidence, you have witnesses come forward, you have an airing of what the issues are for the neighbors that are surrounding and for the whole community. Well, the Forest Preserve is exempt from that. They don't have to do that because they made this intergovernmental agreement in 1988 with the county board not to have to comply with those rules. I think it's unconstitutional.
Thank you. Mr. Whalen, we'll stay with you to start this next question. Do you believe it is appropriate for board members to take campaign contributions for Forest Preserve, it must be from Forest Preserve vendors and contractors? Let me start over. Do you believe it is appropriate for board members to take campaign contributions from Forest Preserve vendors and contractors?
I would say that that doesn't make ethical sense to do that. I know that I've talked to a number of contractors and I've asked them why they don't bid on jobs for the Forest Preserve. And they've, to a voice, have said, you know, it doesn't do any good, Tim, because they always choose the same people. And it's always those people that contribute to their campaigns, to Mr. Fermento's campaign. So no, I don't think that Forest Preserve candidates or commissioners should take donations from contractors.
Mr. Fermento?
I will tell you that the contributions that I receive are from people who believe in good government, people who believe that we're doing a good job, whether they are contractors, individuals, or attorneys, whatever it may happen to be. Most of these people, I will admit readily, that I've known a long time, and they look at me as someone who is doing a good job and wish to see that I continue to do a good job. So I accept those contributions when they are appropriate.
Okay, we've come to the time for closing statements for these candidates, and Mr. William, we'll start with you first with the closing statement. Again, you'll have 1 minute.
Thank you. The theme of my campaign has been and is preserving the green. I'll give you new and energetic leadership to preserve the green for our children and for our families. I'll provide the leadership to preserve, protect, and maintain our green space here in DuPage County. But it's not only about the land. It's about being good stewards of taxpayers' money, the taxpayers' green, preserving of that green. And I will provide the leadership of fiscal responsibility that is necessary on this board at this time. I've raised my family here in DuPage County for the last 31 years. I operate a small law firm in Wheaton and Glen Ellen for the last 31 years. And I use the forest preserves, mainly for fishing. And I want to preserve that for all of our families. So I'm asking for your support as your Forest Preserve Commissioner in District 4.
Thank you. Mr. Formento?
I want to take this opportunity to thank the Wheaton Glen Ellen League of Women Voters and the Wheaton Chamber of Commerce for this public information forum. I have stated the reasons why I wish to continue to represent you on the Forest Preserve Board. As a 42-year businessman in Glen Ellen and as your current commissioner, I have the experience, the enthusiasm, and the desire to continue to serve the people of DuPage County as your Forest Preserve Commissioner. I will continue the district's mission, statement for conservation, for education, and for recreation for the benefit of all the people of DuPage County. I ask for your continued support, and I ask for your vote in the March 20th primary.
Thank you. And we thank these candidates for being with us this evening.